Welcome back to Basement Philosophies. So it has been since November 14th. There was episode 4, so this is episode 5. It's so funny. When I was reading about podcasts before, when I was just trying to get an idea of what to do, they said between like 4 and 7 people quit because they realized they just don't have any content. And I can relate, but the holidays happened and a lot of things were happening. So it was partly because of that, but I won't deny it. Like, no content, got it, because I still haven't really found my niche here. But I know that I want to do it. I want to be here. I'm just kind of navigating where I want to go with it. And today's going to be a little different because, like I said, I'm still trying to find myself on here. I wanted to delete everything. I wanted to get rid of it all. And it's so funny. I find it so fascinating that I still want to be here. And it's funny because I was called to get rid of all of my social media. I was called to get rid of I didn't have Facebook, but I had Twitter and Instagram. And I didn't really post, but I looked at all the content. I looked at what people had to say, what their theories were, as in regards to what's going on in the world. And I really got caught up in it. And sorry, that's my squeaky chair. I'll try not to move that much. But there's so much going on in the world. And it's really hard to make sense of it all. And I don't think we're supposed to make sense of it. I think we're supposed to be confused. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't know what's going to happen the next day. What I do know is that I feel okay. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV like that. I will watch my shows. Like, I have shows that I like funny sitcoms, like mindless, funny shows. But that's pretty much all I watch. And I don't watch the news and I don't watch what people have to say because I don't think that anyone knows what's happening. I think a very select few people know what's happening in the world. And I can't say that I know. What I do know is that it looks scary. But in my insides, I feel okay. And maybe things will get really bad. Maybe it'll be bad for a little bit. But ultimately, I think it'll be fine. I think that dark will come to light. And I believe that God wins. And I will always believe that. And I'm on God's side. And I'm all about bringing the dark to light. I don't believe in what's happening in the world. Like, I don't agree with what's happening in the world. I don't believe in censorship. I don't put my trust in any politician. I don't think the government is here to save anybody. I believe that they are here to save themselves. I think it's up to us to save this country. And I hope that people begin to wake up enough to know that it's up to each one of us individually to make the world a better place. Because it's always going to start with us. And that's something I think we've learned a lot, but it's so true. Like, it's so true. And that's why this episode is going to be a little different, because I'm going to talk about the changes that I've began to make and how I've made them and what that says. So there was a time in my life, maybe, I don't know, it was like after my big breakup. I had this really bad breakup in my 20s. And after that, I struggled for a little bit, gave myself a pity party. But then, once I got past all of that, sorry, this chair, I won't sit in it again. But anyway, when I get past all of that, I realized, okay, I really need to do something. I really got to change, because if I keep going this way, I'll die. Like, I was so unhealthy, wouldn't eat, I wasn't drinking water. I could barely make it to work. I would go, but, I lost all this weight. I think I weighed like 89 pounds at one point. Just, I just gave up. And I was just drinking a bunch of beer and smoking like 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Oh my gosh, when I think about it now, I'm just like, look. My hair was falling out. My face was all sunken in. Teeth are gross. Ugh, just so sad for me back then. Anyway, it got to a point where it was so bad that I was just like, I have to change. It has to stop. And it did. It's when I found yoga. I think I've mentioned all this before. It's when I found yoga. I didn't have any friends to get rid of. They had already, decided not to be in my life. So, I got rid of all those people. I really had this chance to really start with a blank canvas. And at the time, it felt very painful. It was very sad. I was very lonely. But looking back now, I can see that it was really a gift. And I really built this beautiful life. I was happy with myself. I had confidence. I managed to get a great job. It paid well. I paid off my debt. Everything started to work out. And while I did experience heartbreak during all of that time, I was still me. I was starting to find out who I was. And that brings me to the point of, my spiritual journey. And when I say I started on a spiritual path, I didn't know that's what I was doing. All I know is that it started with me questioning everything that I had known. I was questioning who I was, where I was in the world, what I wanted. I was questioning, my religion and my beliefs, everything. And it was so scary. It was so scary to question my beliefs, especially I grew up very Catholic, like a devout Catholic. My parents, very devout Catholics. I went to Catholic school my entire grade school, from kindergarten to 12th grade, it was Catholic school, and while I didn't always agree with what I was learning, I never questioned it. It wasn't until I graduated and I was just like, what if I don't agree with this? Because I know, and maybe I mentioned this before too, I don't know, it's been so long, is I was praying to God daily, mostly at night, before I went to bed. And I would say thank you, I would say thank you. But most of the time, it was me apologizing for who I was. It was me apologizing for making mistakes, all of that. And it got to the point where I got sick of apologizing. It was almost like I was apologizing because I wasn't perfect. And I hated that feeling. I hated that God was supposed to be this person, this entity that loved me no matter what and thought I was beautiful, but at the same time believed that just being born made me a sinner. That's what I didn't like about the Catholic religion, is that it taught me that I was born and I was already bad. That's how I took it anyway, and I think that's how any child would. And, and I spent all of this time just trying to, I guess, earn his love, right? Or earn God's love, whatever he, she, it, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what God is. Honestly, that's where I am at in this world. Is it the guy that they told me? Is it a woman? Is it nothing? Is it us? I have no idea. What I do know is that there's something bigger than me, and it changes from day to day. Whatever I feel comfortable with, that's what I consider God to be. But I guess today it's a he. I don't know. But it's just kind of this point where I stopped praying. Because I was just I'm so tired of apologizing. I'm so tired of trying to prove that, yeah, I make mistakes, but I'm still worthy, And it's just praying didn't make me feel good. And I didn't feel like God loved me or that he was my friend. And it's sadly still something that I struggle with today. But thankfully, I'm not spending most of my time apologizing for who I am. we're human. We're supposed to make mistakes. We're not perfect. And especially in these times, I find that I feel more confused, more lost than ever. Like, who am I? What am I supposed to build? Like, why am I sitting here talking on a podcast that nobody will listen to, But maybe I should find it in some way to believe that someone will, or maybe, I don't know, they'll find it some way. I found a lot of stuff in ways like that. So, I think it's all about changing my mind, which is really what I've been working on. But I got off all of social media because I was just getting really caught up in all of that. And it's really started to change, a few things in my life. I've been really called, and I keep saying I've been called. It's just like this yearning inside me that's like, eat better and, maybe drink more water, or get your yoga practice back, because I'm missing my yoga. I'm missing it so much, even though at the same time I'm resistant to it. It's just, I don't know, I don't understand that conflict, that inner conflict, and it's something that I've been trying to understand. And maybe my understanding so far is, I think that, with my yoga practice, well, my life was so good and it changed for the better. I lost a lot. And when you get on the spiritual journey, you have this idea of who you might be and who you are and who you're supposed to be in the world. And then the deeper you dig, you find out that none of it was true. It was all like an illusion in a way. It was all just a story you told yourself so that you could feel like you fit in the world. And it brings on a bunch of sadness, because it makes you feel even more lost. Because we're human. We're not built to be attached to things, but this world, that's who we are. We get attached to, labels and relationships and belongings and, status and jobs and everything. We form attachments. It's who we are as humans. And then when those attachments start to fall apart, in a sense, we fall apart. Our image of ourselves fall apart, and we're left with nothing. And I'm starting to wonder if that's where you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to have expectations in a sense of, who you are. You're just supposed to exist in this world as pure as you can and just be the person that God meant you to be. And that means just existing, because He made you perfect, right? That's what they teach us. But, we all want purpose. We all want to know what our purpose is. And I think at this moment in time in life, our purpose, I think, is to just figure out what we're supposed to do, be the best versions of ourselves. And it doesn't mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect. No, I get mad every day. I am so emotional all day long. I get mad, so mad, moody. It's just, I get frustrated, I'm not above any of that. And I just get so irritated when I talk to people and they're just like, oh, you need to transcend it. Shut up. You didn't transcend anything. You're still human. Stop. I get so frustrated when I hear shit like that. But one of the things that I am doing is, I'm listening to what my body is telling me. And I don't think it's not as easy as people think. And I think it's because I've been so disconnected from my body for so long. What I would do is be like, oh, I have these symptoms. Let me go look it up and see what I can do. And then I would just go to these external sources and try to figure out what I needed, by researching it. And what I really should have been doing was sitting down and understanding like what my body might want, what my body might need. And while I do still research, because I'll tell you something in a minute about my research, but I will research, just because I like to, but at the same time is really, when you start to listen to your body, it says some pretty surprising things. My body, it wants to detox right now. It just does, and it needs water. It needs fluids. It's not, like, I'm not very hungry like I used to be. It wants fruits. It wants vegetables, like raw fruits and vegetables. It doesn't want a lot of stuff, like these lot of intricate, things. But one of the most surprising things is that my body, it does not want meat. It just doesn't. And, there was time when what was it? Not last year, but December 2019, like October, November, December, I was pregnant. I ended up having a miscarriage, but the entire time, sorry, my chair's so squeaky. But that entire time that I was pregnant, I was repulsed by meat. I didn't want it. I just didn't care for it. But ultimately, I had my miscarriage, and all last year I didn't mind. I just wanted to eat and eat and eat, right? Because I was trying to fill, I guess, this emptiness inside of me, because that's, what we do. But now I don't feel empty, and I'm not repulsed by meat either. It's just, I don't want it. Like, I'm not like, I cannot stand it, even do that. It'll make me gag, I'll throw up. It's more like, I just don't care for that right now. Like, I don't want it. It's nothing like a pregnancy thing, because I'm not pregnant. It's just like a, like something that I feel, something I don't want. And that's just me listening to my body, right? And it wants herbs. It wants, natural healing to happen and occur. And I'm just finding out new and different ways to do that. And all of it's, it's just very small changes. Because if I make too big of a change, then I won't stick with it. It's just how I am. I hate that about myself, but it is. I'll get deep into stuff and I'll be so good, and then I'll fall off the wagon, do it all over again. So I think small changes are the best. So what did I do? I added, like a fruit smoothie in the morning, and then my vegetables throughout the day. I just snack on raw vegetables all day long. And then whatever I feel like at night. It's always different, but I don't really like meat right now, and not grossed out by meat. I just don't want it. Like, my body doesn't want it, and I'm trying to listen, to what my body wants. I still like my coffee in the morning, but I'm trying to stay away from dairy altogether. Just not interested in dairy right now. But that's hard because, I don't know, I just kind of feel limited. But, like, it helps that I'm not that hungry. I'm craving a lot more sleep and, just a lot more time kind of like just being quiet. And that's really hard to do when you live in the city in an apartment with people. I'm with my boyfriend, and sometimes his kids are here. Now I have a new puppy. So I'm just trying to find ways to get that time to just calm myself, to get that peace that I so desperately need. And I'm not exactly surrounded by people that understand that about me. And I'm not sure I understand how important just yet, how much I need that. But I'm starting to learn. So it's like these small changes that I'm going through. But I just think it's funny because, like, had I read, because I went to go, hold on, I'm going to move again, my seat. I was just kind of going through my symptoms, like how I was feeling, like my digestion's off. I'm always like bloated, and like I have like itchy scalp. No matter what I do, I can not wash my hair. I can wash my hair. Just my hair is just a testament to what I need to do with my body, because it fell out at one point because of my miscarriage and my horrible job that I had. It fell out so much that I'm still trying to get it all one length. Like, it was so bad. But finally, it's like almost down to my shoulders, the shortest part. Oh, so bad. Starting to grow around my face. But I was reading, okay, what can I do? What can I eat? And it's like, it said protein this and all this. And while I tried a bunch of stuff, it also talked about meats. And like I said, I don't, had I listened to the articles, I would have been just eating meat and proteins and things like that, because it's saying I need protein. Maybe I do need protein, but I know I don't want it from meat. I don't want that right now. And I don't miss meat, and that's really weird because, I'm a hunter. I fish, I hunt. And, even though it makes me sad, I still do all of those things. And I eat them, it's not a wasteful thing. I eat meat, I eat fish. But I don't know, my body's just no, I don't want that. I want fruits and vegetables, and that's pretty much it. My body probably doesn't want wine either, but I'm just not there yet. So I'm just trying to eat better. And that's some of the biggest changes. But now, I'm trying to get the toxic materials out of my life, toxic makeup, toxic shampoo, conditioner, toxic deodorant, things like that. But it's so hard. You can't really trust anything you find, right? And so hopefully any small changes I make, I can tell the difference. But right now, I've just kind of cut out a lot of stuff that I've used. I've thrown a lot of stuff away. So I just ordered some herbs that I'm gonna make a herb rinse for my hair and my scalp, and I'm gonna see if that works. So I'll let you all know in the future if those help. It's really just I'm trying to switch everything to a more natural base. I think that's how it's meant to be. But it's hard because you can't really trust what you find. But I really want to focus on plants and herbs and things like that, not something that I can buy from some company, because any company is going to target people like me, right? They don't care if it's true or not. So we just have to really watch it. But I think any effort is worth it. And ultimately, you want to change your mind. You want to change how your mind is, because if you truly believe that something isn't harmful to you, then it's not. But I guess we shouldn't get into all of that, because I'm still in the mindset that these chemicals are bad for me, because they are. But I think that you can move beyond that. It's just I know that I'm not there yet. So I'm just trying to make these small changes in order to get somewhere other than I am. I miss the days of waking up and just being rested and being excited for the day. And I haven't been excited for days in a really long time. I guess it's because that I don't know what I'm working towards, right? I don't have anything that's mine. And I think that's why I'm so adamant about writing my books and doing this podcast, because it's mine. If anything, I've learned, quarantine, I have a lot of theories about what COVID-19 is and what the quarantine was meant to do. And I believe that quarantine, in part, was meant to destroy our nation. I do believe that. But I also believe that at the same time, people have, really settled into their bodies, and they've really started to think for themselves, and they've really, kind of started to awaken, in a sense, to what might be going on in the world. And I say that because, now we have sports that tell us what we need to believe. Like, it's in our sports, our football or baseball. You know, there's people on the news, on the TV that constantly tell us that we need to feel bad for, bad for who we are, right? There are riots, and there are diseases, and there are vaccines, and there are rules, and there's tyranny, riots, I think I said riots, sorry. Things like this. There's so much violence, and it just feeds us that constantly throughout the day. And if we listen to it, of course, takes over. It even does me. I remember when COVID first started, I was so scared. Because I saw a clip of people in China just falling and dying in the streets, and it was all fake. And I can't believe that there is an agenda that would do that would scare people that much. And it made me mad. It made me mad for a long time. So I went down a bunch of rabbit holes, and I found out a lot of stuff that I would rather not find out. Is it true? I don't know. Is it not true? I don't know. But the truth is that we should, as humans, no matter where we are in the world, be allowed to ask questions, especially if something doesn't make sense to us. And the fact that a certain number of people are being censored and people are celebrating that's really, really scary. And I know I've talked about it before, but I will mention it again. Censorship never ever stops. So they're going, to appease their side, their support, right? So y'all, they want to quiet the conservatives or the right wing or Trump supporters, they want to quiet their ideas. They want to silence them. But and then they'll celebrate that all of these people are being silenced, right? But once they're silenced, they'll move on to someone else. They'll move on to something else. And sure enough, the side celebrating is going to start to be silenced. And then they're going to be like, wait, what's happening? This is not supposed to be happening. Why can't I say what I want to say? It's freedom of speech, right? But no, it's not, because you just celebrated the fact that people you don't agree with didn't get to voice their opinions, their concerns, their questions. You can ask a legit question and be silenced. It's okay to question things that don't make sense. And it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what I believe, what my beliefs are, no matter what anybody's beliefs are, you should be allowed to talk about them. You should be allowed to voice them. And I'm very, very sad to see that we're living in a world where that might not be the case right now. And that's scary to see. And I was trying so hard to find out what was happening in the world, hoping and praying that it will get better. And each day when I saw that nothing was happening, I would just get low. And I think that's the point of media, right? Is to lower your vibration, to lower your energy, so that the world can be stuck. But what if, and this is how everything's different for me now, is what if we kind of override all that fear? We take that fear and we throw it out the window and we say, I don't want to do this anymore. No, I'm not going to listen to your rules. No, I'm not scared of your vaccine because it's not going to do anything to me. No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. There's the smallest group of people trying to control the entire world, and we're just letting them because we're so scared. And it's okay to be scared, of course. I think the evil is very rampant in this world, and I think Satan is all over everything we see. Music, the TV, the news. I think that's Satan. And I didn't always believe, in Satan or evil, or, I didn't believe that true evil existed, right? And I guess that sounds kind of silly. There's a bunch of evil in the world, right? But I thought you could, there's redemption. But maybe there's not. Maybe there's people living in this world who really have no soul, who really work for the devil, who are so evil that our hearts just really cannot wrap around just how evil they are. And I think that's very, very much happening in the world today. And that was very hard for me to accept. It's very hard for me to mention now. Because the person I am, I want to see the good in everybody. I want to know that everybody can be forgiven. But what if people aren't like me or us or just normal, everyday people? Like, what if there's something else here? Something here that really sinister and wants to hurt us, wants to destroy us for whatever reason. It wasn't until I accepted the fact that evil is real that I was willing to find what side I was willing to decide what side I wanted to be on. And that is the side of light. That is the side of love. And that is the side of God. And that is the side that I will go down with. I don't care if I die for it. And I might. But if I'm on the side of love, then that's all that matters. I'm not judging anyone. I mean, I'm sad for people that they just can't see what's right in front of them. But I just pray for them every night, hoping that they'll wake up. But we should all understand. Sorry, the stutter. But we should all understand is that the change happens in our hearts, in our minds. I had to turn off all of my social media because I was getting bummed out, and I was getting negative, and I was getting to a place where I was like, maybe the world is doomed, But what the world needs now more than anything is the power of light and the power of hope that the world could be a better place. We have to raise our energy, and I believe that energy is what changes our timeline from one timeline to another. And if we just shut down everything, we listen to our hearts, we listen to the light, we will find that the world is destined to become a better place, but we just have to truly believe it, and enough of us have to believe it. I think it will be hard for a little while, but I think that we can get there, and I have hope that we will get there. So this is just, I know it's a little different. I got a little spiritual, and I might keep talking about it because I feel like I'm most interested in that. But I guess that's all I have to say. I got a little vulnerable, and it all feels kind of strange, but maybe that's a good sign. I love you all, and I can't wait to be back. I'll talk to you as soon as I can. I'll just try to catch up and just kind of keep on going, kind of keep getting past through this rut that I feel like I'm in. I'll just keep trying my best to work through it. I love you all so much, and I pray for your happiness, I pray for your hope, and I pray for your health. Love you all. Bye.